son ran away to live with the father who abandoned us when I was pregnant, only to come back begging me to help him after his dad lied about being a business tycoon. So I told him I needed time and asked him to leave. About 6 months ago, my only son, Andy, left home to go and stay with his dad. I had Andy with my ex-boyfriend, Alan, and when we broke up, he made it very clear that he did not want anything to do with the baby. We were pretty young back then, in our early 20s, and he was scared of the idea of having a family to support. So I did not pressure him into anything, but I did tell him that he had to at least pay child support. And for the past 18 years, that's the only contact that we have had. I receive a child support check every month, and that's it. He's never asked about Andy, never came to meet him, and even though Andy has asked about his father a lot, I've never had much to tell him because I don't want to break his heart. But I guess they had started talking to each other behind my back or something, because 6 months back, Andy left a note saying that he was moving in with his dad because apparently, they had been in touch for the past few months, and Alan had invited him to come live with him. He told me that he was very upset that I had never told him anything about his father, and that for a while, he would appreciate it if I did not contact him because he wanted some space and time away from me. It broke my heart, because for the past 18 years, I had raised him completely on my own and sacrificed so much for him. But even so, I did not let my emotions get the better of me and I did what he asked me to. I stayed away and I left him alone. I didn't even bother to call or text him after I found that note, even though I was tempted to do so several times. The truth is, Andy and I had been having trouble for the last couple of years as it is. And I think this was just the last straw for me, because I felt like it was becoming a little too ungrateful. He had already turned 18, so it's not like he was a child who did not know what he was doing. He was an adult, a young one, but still an adult. He knew the consequences of what he had done, so I just decided to let him go. For 6 months, we had absolutely no contact, but then, a couple of days back, he showed up at my door again with all his stuff, begging me to take him back in. He was in tears, telling me that his father had lied about everything, and that he was very sorry for treating me like this, but all he needed now was for me to forgive him and take him back. It was the toughest decision that I had made in my life, but I decided to tell him that right now, I couldn't let him back into my life after what he had done and that I needed some time to think about it, and until then, he could either go back to staying with his father or live with a friend for a while. Having said that, I shut the door, and I felt like a terrible person, and I wanted to take it back, but whatever I had said was true. I did need some time to think about everything, and I couldn't just let him back in right away. He was outside my door for about 15 minutes, begging me to let him back in, constantly apologizing over and over again, and it was very difficult for me, but I had to tell him to leave because I really needed some time to process everything. I was his mother, yes, but I was also my own person, and I couldn't believe that he had treated me like this. Eventually, he left, but ever since then, I've been feeling extremely guilty about putting myself first. So Ida for asking my son to leave when he tried to come back recently? Edit. Hi. So a couple of things that I think will make it simpler for people to come to a conclusion about all of this. Firstly, the trouble that Andy and I had been having was over money. I'm a realtor, I make a decent living, and I think it's good enough for the two of us. Besides, he also has his child support checks, part of which I've kept aside for his college education, but I don't know what's going to happen with that. The thing is, for the most part, he had been fine with the way we lived, but then, in high school, he started hanging out with these rich kids from school, and I don't know why, but he started getting pretty influenced by their lifestyle. The only difference is that their parents can afford that kind of life, I cannot. For them, most of the things that they do is not a big deal, but for my son and I, we can't just drop a bunch of money on whatever we want at the moment and think about it later. That's not how I've been raised, and I would like to believe that that's not how I raised my son either. But anyway, he started to think that it was all very glamorous, and wanted to live the same way, and was very irresponsible with his money. So we started getting into fights pretty often over the way he would live, over his company, and in the last few months before he left, we had been fighting on almost a daily basis about his decision not to go to college and start working right after he graduated from high school. I had not worked so hard for him to give up on college, and I wanted him to have a degree, so I kept trying to get him to see how useful that would be, but he simply didn't care. It was pretty frustrating, but I tried my best to be there for him regardless. However, I think on his 18th birthday, his father reached out to him, at least that's what I figured out from the details that he mentioned in his note. He said that around his 18th birthday, his father had reached out to him on Facebook, told him that he really wanted to build a relationship with him, and invited him over to stay with him for a while. If I'm not wrong, Alan had painted a pretty pleasant picture of himself, because Andy had been pretty upset with me in the knot, since apparently, I had hidden from him the fact that his dad happens to be a business tycoon. I'm pretty sure that's not the truth. I know that Alan runs his own company, but I wouldn't call him a business tycoon because neither he nor his company are anywhere near that level of success. But I'm guessing that that's what Alan had said to Andy, and my son believed it, and I've put 2 and 2 together. I'm pretty sure that's why he decided to go live with his father and cut off ties with me. Because he thought that his father was a business tycoon and would be able to support the kind of lifestyle that he wanted, as opposed to living with me, where he would have to work for everything that he wanted and wouldn't be served up everything on a silver platter. And that was the biggest reason why I was so hurt for the past couple of months, which is why I needed some time to think about things right now. Update 1. Hey, thank you so much to everybody who commented. It's been close to a week since my son returned, and ever since I told him away, he has been texting me and trying to call me, telling me that he's really sorry about everything and that if I just give him a chance, then he will be willing to fix everything that he did wrong. He has told me that he did not go back to staying with his dad, because apparently, it was a nightmare living with him, and he's been crashing with a friend for the past couple of days. In the last few messages that he has sent me, he has confirmed everything that I had been thinking, that he had only left because of the money. He believed that since his father was a business tycoon, he would have a better lifestyle with him as compared to here. He said that he had been ungrateful about everything that I had done for him, and that he could never forgive himself for what he had done, but the least that he could ask of me was that I forgive him. It hurts, knowing that he was willing to abandon his own mother for a so-called better lifestyle, knowing that I have done everything in my power to provide him with everything that he has ever needed. Maybe it was not within my means to provide him with everything that he wanted, but even then, I tried my best. And I won't lie, it's really shattered me. Because every single day of my life, for the past 18 years, has revolved around my son. To think that this very child had little to no regard for me and everything that I've done for him was heartbreaking, to say the least. It's not the fact that he has come back, it's the fact that if his father was actually the kind of guy that he was claiming to be, then Andy might not have returned. The only reason he came back was because he realized that his father was not going to be able to provide the kind of lifestyle that he was looking for. That's all that it was, so how am I supposed to know that this is a genuine apology? He might just be coming back because he has nowhere else to go right now. I know it's a bit pessimistic of me to think this way, but honestly, I think after everything that's happened, it's natural for me to have this kind of outlook. Besides, it's not that I've not considered letting him back in. I know that eventually, I might have to do it because he doesn't have a job right now, he doesn't have a college degree, and even if he does manage to get a job anytime soon, it's gonna take him a while to save up some money to be able to afford rent in anywhere decent. So, realistically speaking, even if he, as my son, found it easy to abandon me, I don't think that I, as a mother, will find it easy to turn my back on him. Right now, I know that he has a place to stay, and I know that he'll be taken care of, so I'm not that worried, but eventually, I don't think I'll be able to keep this up. And frankly speaking, I just don't think I want to give up on my son so easily. So it's going to take me some time, but I think eventually I'm going to talk to him. I don't know if I will forgive him yet or not. I don't think I can do that right now, but I'll definitely give him a chance to at least explain himself. Update 2. So it's been a couple of days since my last update, and a few hours after I posted my last update here, I decided to get in touch with my son, and I told him that I was willing to meet him for lunch in a couple of days, but I would let him know the time and place. I did not want to meet him at home. I wanted to meet him in a public place so that there would be very little scope for any sort of outburst. He agreed, and earlier today, I met Andy and had a proper conversation with him about everything that's happened in the past few months at a restaurant near his friend's house. At first, he was very emotional, and when he saw me, I could see that there were tears on his face, and I felt really bad. But then I had to steel myself for whatever was about to come because I had decided that I was not yet ready to go back to how we were living before, and I made that clear to him right in the beginning itself. Surprisingly, he did not fight me on that. He told me that he deserved this, and that he had screwed up everything that I had worked so hard to give him for the past many years, so he's not surprised that this is happening to him right now. Anyway, when we finally got to talking about why exactly he left, he told me the things that we already know, and additionally, he said that he was also quite curious to see how his father was as a person. Because we had never spoken about him properly, there was this element of mystery around his father, and when Alan reached out to him around his 18th birthday and introduced himself, he started to think that his life would be very different if he had had his father in his life. And subconsciously, he started resenting me for never allowing that to happen. It was not until much later that he found out that it was Alan, who had actually refused to be a part of his life, and I guess that was partly my fault as well because in order to protect his feelings, I never told him the truth about his father. Because of that, Andy built his father up in his head, an imaginary version that did not exist, and when the real guy reached out, he instantly fell for it, and went ahead to stay with him without giving me a second thought. I'm not saying that it was all because of me, but I'm guessing that I should have been honest with him and maybe this could have been avoided, I don't know. But whatever the case was, it was not just the lifestyle, it was also the curiosity that got to him. And in addition to that, Alan had really sold himself as a successful business tycoon with everything that one could want in the message that he had sent Andy when he had first reached out to him. Even on his Facebook profile, Alan was just full of himself, a total show-off, and I'm guessing that impressed my son because that's the kind of life that he wanted. But when he actually moved in with his father and started living with him, it came as a shock to him because that life was nothing at all like what he had imagined it to be. He thought that he would be living in a mansion, he wouldn't have to do any work around the house, and he would get as much money as he wanted to spend on whatever he wanted. The reality was very different, though. Alan lived in a pretty normal apartment in a decent neighborhood, nothing too posh. He had just one car, which seemed to be pretty old, and he didn't have anybody else cleaning up after him like Andy had expected. He had to do all the household chores by himself. For the first few weeks, it was really awkward to bring it up with his dad because they were getting along well enough, and he wanted to be polite. But eventually, after he had spent almost a month with his father, he ended up asking these questions, and his father told him a bunch of nonsense about how he liked living modestly, and didn't actually believe in showing off in real life. That was just him on social media, and it was a different personality there. For months, my son believed that, and admired how humble and down-to-earth his father was, but even so, He kept waiting for his father to actually show him how rich he was, just to give him an example of his wealth. Eventually, after he had stayed with his father for almost 5 months, he worked up the courage to ask his dad to buy him a car. His dad agreed, and for weeks, they kept going back and forth on it. But eventually, his father had to come clean, and Alan told him that he couldn't afford that car right now because his business is not doing so well and he might have oversold himself to try and impress his son, so he would want to have a relationship with him because he couldn't think of any other way to approach him. Alan told him the truth, that he was not a business tycoon, and that he lived modestly because he didn't have any other option. And that came as a huge shock to Andy, because obviously, he had left everything that he knew to come stay with his dad just because he believed that he would get to experience the kind of lifestyle that his friends were so used to. And now that he knew that everything had been a lie, he completely lost it at Alan and got into a huge fight with him before he left. In fact, the day that he found out that Alan had lied about everything, that very day he packed up his bag and came back home. Andy apparently had been considering the possibility of his father having lied about everything, but it never occurred to him that that might actually be the case because his father seemed to be so confident about all the lies he was spewing. But after he realized that he had been lied to so far, he decided to make his way back to me, and after that, well, I already knew everything. After having narrated everything that had happened with him, he told me that he was really sorry about everything. He had lost sight of what was important and he really wanted to make it up to me. He told me that he would do whatever I asked of him, because ultimately, he knew that I wanted the best for him, and even though he had been a terrible son so far, he was willing to try again if I just gave him a chance. It was a lot to take in at that point in time, honestly, and I told him that I wanted to forgive him as well because at the end of the day, we are all we had. I loved my son, and I did not want to lose him, so I told him that I would take a couple of days and let him know whether he could come back this week or not. Apart from that, I also wanted him to go to therapy with me because whatever had happened so far, I really wanted to sort things out with him, and I think a professional would be able to help us with that. Most importantly, I wanted him to realize the importance of everything that he had learned, that money isn't everything, and having a certain kind of lifestyle doesn't guarantee happiness. He should learn to be happy with whatever he has, and instead of looking for shortcuts, he needs to work hard to get to where he wants to be. Maybe I haven't been able to give him whatever he wants, but I've tried my best, and for me, I think that's enough, so I think for him, there should be some sense of gratitude regarding that as well. He agreed with everything that I said, and when I told him that I wanted him to go to college and get a degree, he said yes to that as well. That's how I knew that he was serious about wanting to make it up to me, because until recently, he was pretty adamant that he did not want to go to college and waste 4 years of his life, for no reason. But when he agreed to do so after I spoke to him recently, I knew that he was serious and he wanted to make amends. I think overall, our meeting went pretty well, and I've already started looking for therapists around me for joint therapy sessions. I think it will really do us a world of good, especially him, because I think he has gone off track and I think I want to bring him back to the right path again. Hopefully I'll be able to succeed in doing that now, fingers crossed. Update 3. Hi, so it's been 2 weeks and a couple of days back, and he finally moved back in with me. I was really happy to have him back. It was very emotional for both of us, but we still have a long way to go. We started therapy last week. We've only had 2 sessions so far, but even that has made a difference. And he has started applying to colleges as well, just like I had asked him to, but he was worried about the money. That's when I told him about the college fund that I had been setting aside for him, that he had no idea about. I told him about this a couple of days ago, when he moved in with me, and he literally broke down into tears when I told him about it, started apologizing once again, and this time, even I couldn't hold back. I'm very happy that I decided to forgive him and give him another chance, because I really think that this is going to work, then I'm going to be able to bring him back on the right track. As for Alan, he did message me a couple of days ago, asking me if Andy had made her way back home. This was the first time that I was hearing from him after we broke up, and since he didn't have my number, he had messaged me on Facebook. And I really gave him a piece of my mind this time. I told him that what he had done was disgusting and pathetic, and there was no need for him to have done something so stupid in the first place. If he wanted to have a relationship with his son, then he should have just contacted me, and I would have put them both in touch. After all, it was never me who had had a problem with him. He was the one who had decided that he did not want to be a part of his son's life, and I was fine with that, even though he was the one who had told me to go ahead with the pregnancy in the beginning. And then, he abandoned me when I was halfway along, but I still did not hold any grudges against him. All I asked him was for some support financially. It was never me who would have had a problem with him wanting to build a relationship with Andy, so I don't understand why he felt the need to lie and create so much trouble for everyone. And now, after a few weeks had already passed since the incident, only then had he bothered to reach out to me to ask about his son. Of course, he had made his way back home. There was no reason for him to ask that, and I told him that I would really appreciate it if, after this, he did not contact me or my son because he had really created enough drama as it is. Update 4. Hi, everybody. So it's been a month since my last update, and recently, Alan showed up at my house. I have no idea how he even found out where I was staying. I'm guessing he spoke to some of our common friends from when we were together, and they must have told him. Anyway, he showed up, asking about Andy, and even though I did not want to, I decided that it would be better for me to leave it up to Andy whether he wanted to speak to Alan or not. After all, he was an adult, and part of that would be respecting his decisions, especially when it came to sensitive matters like this. I didn't want to make Andy resent me in the future for not even giving him a chance, so I called Andy and I let him deal with the whole thing. I did not want to influence anything, and I didn't even want to be there, so while they were talking, I decided to stay in my bedroom and I even put on headphones so I would not be tempted to try and overhear their conversation and get involved. After almost half an hour, Andy finally came to me and apparently, Alan had come here to apologize for everything. He acknowledged the fact that he should not have lied and should not have tried to give his own son a false impression of how he lives his life. He wanted a second chance, because he had already screwed things up enough, but Andy told him that he needed some time to think about whether he wanted the same thing or not. Because at the end of the day, the fact of the matter was that this was the same guy who had never bothered to get in touch with him for 18 whole years. This was the same person who had told his mom to go ahead with the pregnancy and then acted like a total coward and escaped from the situation and refused to take any accountability apart from a few measly child support checks. So everything was quite complicated, and he needed things to fall into place in his own life first before he could think about forgiving Alan and building a relationship with him. Basically, he was pretty diplomatic about the whole thing, and I was actually proud of him for dealing with everything in such a dignified manner. I was also very happy that he had defended me like that, and it made me very proud to have him as my son. Therapy is still going well, and I think our relationship has improved a lot in the past couple of weeks. He's also been accepted into one of the colleges that he applied to and he's going to start in fall this year. I'm gonna miss having him around, but I'm very glad that he's doing this. For now, everything is fine. Update 5. So, hello everybody. I think it's been about 4 years since I posted regarding this situation, but I'm just so happy today that I felt like I had to share it with everybody. And I just randomly remembered this period of my life, so I wanted to come online and share this particular piece of information here as well. I hope it makes everybody reading this just as happy as it makes me. So, before I get into anything else, let me just say that my son and I have improved our relationship a lot, and we have pretty much put all our differences in the past. He has grown a lot, and I have given him his space, and we stopped going to therapy a while ago because we didn't have that much time and also because I feel like we have solved all the issues that we had. He's graduating from college in a couple of months, and he's been with this wonderful girl for the past 4 years. He met her in college, and he likes to thank me for making sure that he found his soulmate, because I was so bent on him going to college. In a way, I think I am actually the one to thank for making sure these two found each other. And they really are soulmates. I love both of them, and a couple of days ago, they got engaged, which made me the happiest person on earth. They plan on getting married in a small and intimate ceremony right after they graduate, and I'm so glad that they're doing this. They're young, but that doesn't really matter. I personally think they are perfect for each other, and I'm just really very happy about how things have turned out.